People power growth, but recruiting and onboarding are expensive, exhausting, and absolutely overwhelming. I've been there, and it doesn't have to be this way. Welcome to Hire and Empower. I'm your host, Molly McGrath. Join me as we interview leaders who care about their teams and distill powerful lessons from them. This show is sponsored by H&E, helping organizations to find their best hire and empower them for success. Learn more at hiringandempowering.com. All right, guys, this is a heavy conversation based on the title, but do not shut down. Listen, today we are talking about the attorney abuse has to stop now. And yes, we are speaking just to the attorneys. But if you are listening to this podcast and you even opened it because of this title, you're intrigued and you're deeply curious, which we want to give you a big, like round of applause and yay for you that you are always invested in, okay, what part am I playing in this whole law firm building, people building, production building, process building, business building game. So if you're here and you're listening, just know our goal is not to beat the hell out of you. Our goal is to inspire you and to give you some really great concrete information and techniques that you can take back to your office tomorrow to create a turnaround. But before we dive in, I really am so excited about today's co-host with me. And you guys are in for a treat. Many of you, if you're been in the legal space and you spend any time on social media, you are wholly familiar with Stacey Lake. She is an invaluable resource in the legal tech space and staffing space, constantly evolving to meet her clients' needs. Stacey founded 4 legal-based businesses, including Lawfecta and LawWurk, which I know many of you have heard, especially if you're attending the ABA and the different legal conferences and virtual, in-person, what have you. She's on constant speaker panels. More than any avid entrepreneur, she's a business partner focused on providing groundbreaking, value-driven solutions that act as a catalyst for business growth. And Lawfecta is a virtual paralegal, legal secretary, and assistant support agency offering remote services to attorneys, law firms, and other small businesses throughout the U.S. Fueled by a belief in technology innovation, Stacey creates affordable and innovative solutions to bridge the access to justice gap. The cool thing about Stacey, which I love because I'm always like picking her brain when it comes to paralegals, is prior to venturing into entrepreneurship in 2017, Stacey was a paralegal for 10 years. She witnessed firsthand the challenges faced by attorneys in their lines of work. And in 2017, she transitioned from the traditional law firm setting and rising to the challenge to offer independent contract services to solo attorneys, entrepreneurs, and leveraging her knack for technology. She stays ahead of emerging trends to offer critical on-demand services and recognizes that each business is unique and customized legal solutions to address your specific needs, helping you elevate your business faster. So Stacey comes from a place of serving in the legal space. In addition to, she was a paralegal for 10 years. She sat in the seat. And Stacey and I, we've known each other for quite some time. We met again at the ABA back in Chicago, March of this year, talking. Then we were busy, got on each other's calendars a few weeks ago. I'm like, all right, what's up? What are your challenges? What are you facing? And we just started talking. And that's where today's topic came from, of really what our steadfast, unwavering commitment for attorneys to stop the revolving door within the firm, because she gets the calls from, and I get the calls. I do permanent placement, anywhere from receptionist to associate attorney to succession planning, what have you. And in this insane employee driven market, especially in the legal space where the unemployment rate is under 1%, we are so committed to helping you have a breakthrough in this conversation. However, in any type of personal or professional program, step one is awareness. So we're going to shine the flashlight, attorneys, for you, because we love you so much and we all need help in seeing our blind spots. So Stacey, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Molly. I'm super excited to jump in on this conversation. And I would like to reinforce again that we are not beating the attorneys up. We're just trying to show the light a little bit on what the reality is. And hopefully attorneys can take this information today and create some value in their law firms and with their paralegals and their other paraprofessional staffing.
Yes. And, we got here today and I'm like, oh, I got a little bit of butterflies in my belly because this is a bold punch in the gut conversation. But however, we picked the title purposely because you all know your business owners, your marketers at heart. What's the number one rule? Subject line is king. So we picked this subject line purposefully to, number one, get you to jar you, and then get you to open it and listen to it with, I'm sure, a little bit like, oh boy,
curiosity,
what are they going to say?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's an important topic and it isn't talked about enough. And it's definitely something that I think, what we said earlier, I think that it's attorneys or, some individuals when they're talking with their staffing, it's my words don't affect people, but my work really does affect people. So I'm focused on the important part. And I think sometimes we just kind of forget that like we're working with other human beings. And sometimes we do need to have, like this podcast, a jarring statement, attorney abuse needs to stop for us to think, is that for me? Am I abusing people? And so for anybody listening right now, welcome. I think that I always keep an open door with my team. I'm always requesting feedback anonymously because it is important that we ask others how we're treating them. But I also know that even if I self-reflect, I'm not going to see the problems that I'm causing until somebody brings them up to me. And I think that's exactly what we're doing right now on this podcast, is we're bringing up an issue to help others start that self-reflection to see, am I part of the problem? Am I having a lot of turnover of staff? Am I the problem? Or is there another problem that I'm just not seeing? And so I think that this podcast is really important for that aspect of self-reflection in investigating problems in a law firm, especially when they have high turnover of staffing.
And I love that you said that about when you said that before that my words don't affect people. It's my work that does, especially when you're in service-based industry. I want to be really, really clear on as stressed out, time strap, money strap, lead strap, marketing strap, conversion strap, entrepreneurs, we feel your pain. We know, like, oh my goodness, can somebody just care about this business as much as I do? I'm paying everybody, but I feel like I'm the only one who cares or works it hard. We sit in these chairs every single day, but we also invest heavily in really being approachable with our team. So I want to just kick off, and I'd love to hear your statement, your insight on this, Stacey, because from my perspective, the abuse, let's talk about that first and foremost. Like, to Stacey's point, it comes in the form of your words, whether they're sharp or they're short or they're harsh or they're, emotional or judgmental or what have you. Sometimes that's the only way. Yeah. So often attorneys say to me, well, I'm not a screamer, or I don't understand because I didn't even say anything. Number two is the energy that you bring it into the room and that you leave into a room, that people that attorneys, you don't understand the thundering silence that, and Stacey and I talk to candidates all day long,
Yes.
people that we're trying to poach from other place in other law firms and get people to move over to your special, amazing law firm and what have you. And we hear, all right, give me the nitty gritty. Why are you leaving? Why are
Exactly.
you talking to a recruiter? Why are you considering? It's the energy. It's the tonality. It's the
Yes.
thundering silence. It is the passive aggressive emails. It is comes in all different formats. It's like,
Yes, absolutely.
it comes in all different formats. So we're here to just make you aware of the different formats that it comes in, because so often we think that, well, I'm not a screamer, or I treat my team nicer. We have birthday dinners and we give them flowers. So how can I possibly be accused of being an abuser? I would love your
Yes.
insight on what you've heard and witnessed.
Yeah, let me tell a little story because it's interesting that, like you said, people don't really might not see abuse. Like, I'm not screaming, I'm not physically violent, I'm not abusing others. So let me tell you about the first time I was abused by an attorney in a law firm. And this is actually going to seem like, well, that doesn't sound like anything, but in reality, it really was something. So I worked at this law firm. I was younger. I was like 21, very shy, very quiet back then. And I joined this law firm. This attorney, he had only been licensed maybe 6 months. Great guy, fantastic. But he couldn't handle how much work was coming in. So he hired another attorney. She was only been licensed like 1 or 2 years. So she came in. We were a family law firm. She didn't know how to do family law. She hadn't practiced it before. She had mainly done document review type of services. So in California, in family law, there's a certain thing that we have to do called a mandatory settlement conference. And there's certain deadlines associated with that. And you have to draft certain documents. So I was talking with her about that, letting her know, hey, these are the deadlines. This is what we have to draft, yada, yada. And she just stopped me and she was like, hold on, I'm the attorney. You're the paralegal. Please only give me the information that I asked for. Okay. I mean, I was trying to explain that, we have these deadlines, these documents we need to do, but at that point I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to listen because you're telling me I'm just a paralegal. I shouldn't. Basically what we ended up finding out when I talked with her later on, because we blew the deadlines, because she wouldn't be receptive to my information. What we ended up talking about later, her and I, is, she was just like, I'm a newer attorney. I'm trying to get my footing. Like, I can't have a paralegal giving me this information. And, I try to have this conversation with her, like we're equals, we're team members, we have the same goal. But just that moment of her abruptly stopping me when I was trying to give her the information that was going to help the client, when you come down to it, it's essentially for the client. She wasn't receptive to my information because she felt that I was just a paralegal. And even though that just seems like maybe nothing, that is a abusive behavior to basically tell, I had been working in legal, although I was only 21, I had been working in family law for 5 years, doing strictly case from start to finish for 3 years at that point. And so, I had some knowledge I was trying to share, but she shut that down quickly. And and that was very consistent. And I wasn't able to ever vocalize to her, like, hey, like, we're working together. Like, I have information to share. You have information to share. Let's have that like cooperation. And you don't need to, talk to me like that either. I was never able to say that, and I think a lot of paralegals are in the same position. They're not able to speak up. They're not able to say, like, hey, please don't speak to me like that, because a lot of states are at will. A lot of them need their jobs. A lot of them are scared. And, I think that if I was able to vocalize that, have just like a direct conversation with her to say, like, you cannot talk to me or any of the other staff like that, because she was very abrupt to us. And I think if we have that conversation, open it up, I think we would have had a much different culture in that office. But everybody who was, a paraprofessional or support staff were too afraid to approach an attorney to say, your behavior towards me is not okay. And so it persisted. And I've worked in several different offices. 4 were very toxic. And I think it's that same culture kind of aspect, is that support staff are too scared to have those candid conversations because of how it may come across.
It's not even support staff. And I love, we're going to start here from the attorney perspective, working in-house. And then we're also going to talk about what vendors are experiencing with you too,
Yes.
because Stacey and I are both vendors and we employ a lot of people that work with you as well. And how you treat a vendor is how you treat everybody. You know, what's the
Yeah.
saying in all the Starbucks books and all the customer service books, the Zappos happiness guidebook, all of it. It says how you treat a waitress, how you treat everybody.
Yeah.
And so it really comes down to that. And to Stacey's point, why you're like, oh God, whatever, the attorney was stressed, they were busy, blah, blah, blah. You're not the attorney. You don't have the malpractice insurance. All these justifying bullshit that you tell yourself is because then Stacey would got the message very clear. You are beneath me.
Mhm.
And I am the boss and you do what I tell, and I'm going to dismiss you, whether with my words, with my energy, with my language, with what have you. So the message is sent. Okay, shut your mouth and do your job, and you might be lucky to get rewarded with the paycheck. And then the compound effect happens with every interaction
Yes.
going forward. And then the behavior is allowed, and then it is subconsciously brought into the conference room in the tonality with the communication with the associate attorney. Now you're growing and you think that, and by the way, that example, the associate attorney has more experience than you do. But anyways, I mean, and so it's the compound effect versus empowering your team. Now, this isn't going to be an overnight strategy, folks, but empowering your team to be. And if any of you haven't read some of the books like Crucial Conversation, where it starts with the heart, or the book First Among Equals, where it talks about, you know, where we create a safe place for people to give that anonymous review or not anonymous, what's working, what's not working, how am I showing up, things of that nature. And you allow people, if Stacey had the opportunity to say, hey, time out. I've worked in law firms for quite some time, or whether you have or you haven't. This behavior is unacceptable. And if we're really going to grow and scale, and you're going to make the revenue goals that you want, you're going to get the client satisfaction and reviews that you want walking ambassadors from clients, opposing counsel, there are so many relationships and personalities in here. And I see the tonality of the emails that you send. I see the tonality of this. I have your back. And this is coming off as abusive. And it's got to stop, because if not, we are never, ever going to be able to grow and scale. And if I don't help you, if you don't allow me to help you and have your back with deadlines and et cetera, it's going to come back and bite you in the butt, because I have flip side stories of that, where the attorney, and this is another form of abuse, ditching meetings with your employees, missing deadlines that you promised to your employees,
Yes.
right down to the receptionist who's accepting those calls. And then when things get really, really bad, and you're in trouble with the judge or opposing counsel or whoever it might be, or, you know, the courts or hearings or what have you, guess who the finger pointing always goes to? The staff members.
Yeah.
And then there is when you blow your top, and you never gave them the permission because you ditched the meeting. And ditching a meeting and deadlines and not giving your team the respect of time, attention, feedback, collaboration, and communication. You cannot dice this anymore. That people are lucky to have a job, because
Right.
that is a form of disrespect and abuse to your employees.
Exactly. And I think, we start businesses because we want to have growth in our businesses. We want to scale. And when we bring in employees, or we outsource, or whomever we bring in to build our team, we want to retain them. But creating that well-rounded, like people-focused team takes a long time. It's not just overnight, like you said, it's not a month from now. It's like weeks and months, and you have to have momentum and you have to sustain it in order to create a business where people want to stay and they are happy. And you have to do constant work on yourself. I'm constantly doing
Yes.
leadership conferences and summits and work, because even though I have a lot of knowledge and I hardly get any complaints, in terms of my leadership style, but I do listen to any complaints or feedbacks or criticisms. But it is important that I am constantly looking for thought leaders in leadership to hear what they have to say. What can I do to improve myself as a leader? And for me, that is really important, to keep myself knowledgeable in leadership and finding different ways I can be better for my team, because I respect them. And if I show them that I'm a good leader, if I am treating them as human beings, I don't have high turnover. I have very little turnover. And I have a team of 30. And so I don't have high turnover. And originally when I started, I did, because I did not know how to be a leader. I mean, that's just the truth of it. When you start a business, unless you've done a lot of training or had a mentor, you're kind of a floundering fish, right? You're just fish out of water trying to figure it out. And that's literally what I was as a leader. And I think that's how a lot of leaders are. We don't actually get trained in leadership and how to motivate people, inspire people, connect with people. But when we actually take that training and we understand and do some self-reflection, and then we can put that out there to our team members, it's a world of difference between where I was 3 years ago with my turnover to where I am now. Completely different. And that's because I started focusing on people who had thought leadership, basically, in the realm of, focusing on people focus leadership and management styles.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because some of our attorneys be like, oh, well, I don't have to worry about these leadership because I have a professional law firm administrator. I have a CEO. I have a COO. I'm not part of the lead team. I don't have to manage. I'm not leading these people. Bull crap. We're talking about you really, because you are an entrepreneur. And so we are consistently feeling frustrated. We're always on pins and needles if we're going to drop the ball, if we're going to get fired by a client. Are people adhering? So you're a human being, you get agitated and you
Yes.
get frustrated. We are not saying that you need to bite your lip and walk around and not communicate with people, but the tonality and the intentionality and the deliverability and the energy and the power versus force behind it is also critical. This morning, I had a massive meltdown with my coach. And it's again, you have to show up vulnerable and you have to be real. I'm like, I want to fire everyone on my team. They did blah, 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 blah. This client is definitely an abusive attorney. I need to fire them. I keep attracting these abusive attorneys, what have you. I just puke it all out. And then she helped shine the flashlight back on me, where I violated my boundaries, where I didn't have upfront conversations first and foremost, where I didn't sit down with my team and have the crucial conversation with them when I noticed the violation and process at step one. And now I just let it compound. I'm trying to keep my mouth shut because I'm supposed to be a really good leader, and I'm not showing up and having the honest truth. But again, after that conversation, I walk into my daily huddle with my team. And I had a conversation, an honest conversation. I'm like, guys, I know you guys know that I've been frustrated. You can feel my energy coming into the room. I feel it. I don't like how it feels. And here's the deal. We've been missing the ball on doing our weekly updates here. I'm noticing that we're not doing, this step of the process before we do this process. We're skipping steps of the process. So here's the deal. We're going to gamify this. Each step of the process that you guys miss, I'm taking X amount off your bonus. I'm going to take X amount on this. I'm going to get, and then we came up with different brainstorm. And they were like, they started laughing. They're like, oh my God, I love this. There's money at stake for this stuff. I'm like, hell yeah, there is. Cause and then we gamified it. And then we had fun. And then it was interesting because Christine says to me, I could tell that you've been so frustrated for the past week, right? And I gave her permission to be honest with me. And right there, and I said, okay, now it's your problem now. Because in our ground rules and our house rules of engagement, one in your job description is that you will be honest with me, that you will come and give feedback. If you're
Yes.
noticing, if I'm not being the leader that I am, just like you're not being the team member that you are, that we're going to have an adult self-governing conversation. So we had a really great conversation, added a couple different questions we're going to add to our daily agenda to keep us all accountable. So attorneys, we're not saying that you have to walk around and be a sacrificial lamb at all, and we're going to flip here in a minute once we talk about what's going on internally and give you some tips for how to really, truly turn this around within your team. And then we're going to talk about vendors, but your team knows it. We get the phone calls every single day. Like, I can't work here another day. Getting this email. I had a candidate today that sent me a text. We placed her 30 days ago. She's screenshotting all the texts from an attorney. I'm like, oh my God, they're saying, what the F is wrong with you? Like, you're
Oh
an
no.
idiot. Like, there is blatant abuse going
Yeah.
on too. Like that. It's like, we get you're stressed out, but there is a whole new way to still get your needs accomplished by expressing what's not working and where you want to see the turnaround and where you need to see change. But if you're not doing that consistently, then you're
Yes.
blowing up. And if you're going to blow up on a brand new employee like that, what the heck are you doing with your existing employees?
Exactly. And it's like also intent. When those text messages, what is the intent behind it? Like, I think that's really important, that when we are communicating, when we're stressed out, when we're frustrated, that we do take a step back and say, what do I need next? What is my intent with the message that I'm going to send next? Because the messages that you just said, that new hire received, that's just pure abuse. There's nothing productive that's going to come from that. There's just nothing productive other than, somebody just says, I quit. And that's, in my mind, yes, that's very reasonable for somebody to walk out the door if you are abusing them. 100%. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. And I actually worked in a law firm that for a year and a half, they could not hold on to a receptionist more than 3 months. They would literally go to lunch and not come back. And it was constant. And I would hear the attorneys talking. They're like, I don't understand, why won't the receptionist stay? But I would hear them saying really rude and disrespectful things to them. And it's just, I was a paralegal, again, back to that position of like, I know what the problem is. It's, how you're treating her. You're not treating her as a human being. You're treating her below you or those receptionists. And unless you change, sometimes it's not them. Sometimes it's you, realistically. And, in that specific circumstance, they never did the self-reflection. It was a group of attorneys. There was like 3 of them, and they never did the self-reflection to say, okay, well, what do we need to change? Instead, they would just put the compensation higher, but that never reflected back in somebody who stayed longer. They still just had high turnover. The unfortunate thing is not the unfortunate thing, you just can't throw cash at a problem and expect the problem to resolve. Truly, having happy and productive and goal-oriented staffing takes a long time, and it takes a very people-focused approach, and it takes a lot of self-control. Because during those times of stress or anxiety, we might get a message from, I might get a message from my team, something bad happened, they did something wrong, and I might want to explode. I might want to say something, but I shut it down. I say, nope, taking a step away. I need 30 minutes. I need an hour. I need to think it over, because I need to be intentional in what I'm going to say to you, because I value you. And if I value you, my intent is always going to be that, to value you. But if I allow myself to let my stress and my anxiety and whatever else I have going on in my life allow me to mistreat my team, I am losing so much value by losing my people, because they are what allows me to grow my business. They are what allow me to step away and work on my business and not in it. They're so valuable, and I need to treat them like they are valuable. And because I do, I've had, like I said, don't have high turnover. I have an amazing team. Like truly, like I am so happy with the team I built. And I think attorneys and other, businesses can do it as well if they also, had a people focused approach and really did some self-reflection and work.
Yes. And I love it. You said that cash isn't going to fit everything, because often when, and we'll talk about, flip over to the recruiting side and what we're
Yeah.
seeing in the way that we're witnessing of how attorneys treat vendors. Because even if you're treating your employee that, and you treat them like just a receptionist, and people call me like, I just need a receptionist, I'm just going to pay them $15 an hour. I'm like, no, if for the fact that you even said just a receptionist, that's abuse. Number one. Number
Yes.
two, you think you're going to get someone for $15, and I tell them the fair market value right now is around $25, $27 an hour. Then they start loading all these different duties onto the job description, where they're basically functioning as a paralegal. So you don't value that role. And if you don't value that role and you have a high turnover, your clients see it. And just like when you go to dinner, when you're aware of how you show up, and you're with somebody at the dinner table and they don't say please and thank you to the waiter, or they always have a problem with their meal for the waitress, or they constantly you can see them, they don't make eye contact, they don't engage, what have you. That's, people notice it. So your clients, your referral sources, your community are taking note of how you treat people. And if you're having a blow up with your receptionist and walking into a conference room expecting to close a $10,000 deal, and then you're not closing the deal, and you're going to blame it on the marketing company for sending you crap ass leads, or you're going to blame it on the receptionist because she didn't do blah, 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 or the paralegal never did, the intake form, what have you. If you find yourself in this vicious cycle of that, again, to Stacey's point, I love that. Take a step back and really follow the trace, follow the vicious cycle, and start with you. What role am I playing in this? How am I showing up? So when you start exercising this with your employees and asking them, if you're deeply curious about this, if you're deeply committed to making a change, to, like Stacey said, it's not going to change overnight. They're going to be crickets. They're not going to share shit from Shiola with you because they're afraid of you, because they've seen the recourse when somebody else spoke up and they were fired, or when somebody else spoke up and now they're the black sheep of the firm. So it's going to take consistency, persistency, and you need to be walking your talk. So every week when you're showing up and you are being deeply curious, you are being still, you are being present, you are being reflective, and you're not defending and treating your, like you're in a courtroom, and really consistently doing this, it'll take a good 30 plus days, and then they're going to start opening up. But if you're curious, it's not a one and done or one and wow.
Agreed so much. And there's actually this system, this guy created this system called Friday Pulse. And it's actually this, you add your team members' emails in there, and every like Friday or every other week, it sends them an email like, what's your happiness here at the firm? Like, give us feedback, And I use that with my team, but also Friday Pulse has this really great, I don't know what to call it, but they have this really great philosophy, I guess. I don't know. It's broken up into 5 parts. It's called the Friday Pulse philosophy. And so they say, if you want to have like ongoing employee happiness and have a people focused business, you got to connect with your team. You got to be fair with your team. You got to empower your team. You got to challenge them, and you got to inspire. And I definitely think that with all those, if attorney or but just a business owner, any business owner who's looking into hire team members, outsource, or who's just investigating potentially wanting to hire somebody, looking up Friday Pulse and looking at those like 5 different different things is a really good starting point to start being like, how do I put this into effect in creating like a people focused, like positive culture at my law firm? And how do I also, because it starts with me, that's where it starts. It starts with the owner because it's a trickle effect. Like it goes all the way down when people feel your energy or they hear the things you say, it does trickle. And so, Friday Pulse and those 5 different aspects are a good starting point to just read and be like easily applicable, basically. Like you can like read them and apply them in the same day, basically.
Oh, I love that. All right, we're going to have all that in the show notes here for you folks. Let's talk, Stacey, because I think this is what really springboarded and got our juices flowing and our excitement and our commitment for attorneys when we were talking about us as recruiters having to,
Yes.
attorneys are hiring us. So whether it's a marketing agency, it's a recruiter, it's a staffing, it's 1099 virtual educational platform, whatever it is, subscription based, and they're hiring us. Tell me a little bit about, I think it was the story that you said about when you were sending over resumes and the judgment around the resumes for the candidates that you were sending over to an attorney. Was it that?
There's so many stories, but
Pick one.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the one that you're talking about, yeah. So this was actually towards my administrative team. So basically how we operate is when an attorney reaches out to us and they say, I want to work with a paralegal, they give us their information and we'll send them resumes. Here's the different team members. So I have this fantastic administrative assistant. Her name is Ashley. And so she sent this attorney some resumes. I'm not sure what exactly the issue was that it came down to, but the attorney went and found Ashley on LinkedIn, looked at her bio, looked at her profile, and then came back in an email and said, you're not even qualified to talk to me. You don't have the education, you don't have the experience, and you have the skills, which for me, like, not okay. For me, I've come from law firms where there has been abuse and there has been, a toxic culture. And one of the main things that when I created my business, I've learned from those experiences, and I knew for a fact no abuse was going to happen. Like 100%, that's not okay. And so soon I have a very clear policy with my clients that says, as soon as you disrespect my teammates, we're done. So we're going to terminate. So I reached out and I said, that's okay. You cannot speak to my team member like that. And she said, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. And I was like, you went on her LinkedIn, found her education, her experience, and then told her she's not qualified to talk to you. And she was like, well, yeah, because she's, and then she goes over that, starts going into whatever her justification is. And I'm like, no, stop. Not okay. Like, I don't care about justification. I don't care about excuses. You cannot speak to my team members like that, point blank. And if you don't understand why, that's even more of a reason we cannot work together. And, that's just how it was. And it doesn't, and I'm still honestly quite shocked that she still never was like, yeah, that was rude or anything. She was just like, no, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. She was very firm on that position. And I mean, again, for me, the buck stops at me. You're not, as soon as you are rude to my teammates, like there's some things that we can forgive if my teammate will forgive, but there's some things that are just like, especially if for her, she couldn't even realize, why it wasn't appropriate, why it wasn't okay.
It's amazing to me because look at that example again. If you're willing to get deeply curious and start with you of what a gift you could have gave her, because if somebody said that to me, it would be like a sucker punch where I would have to sit down and really take stock of how I'm showing up there. Because if you're showing up like that for Ashley, you're showing up like that everywhere for other people. And I experience this all the time. I remember just two stories come to mind. One, I was coaching a law firm. This attorney, sweet as pie. Oh my goodness. Adorable as a bug. Loved her, everything. And she's having trouble with her back office drafting company, was on the call, and the technology company. So both of them were on the call. And we're there. Technology person gets there first, trying to figure out the virtual, whatever IPN, whatever VPN, whatever it's called. And this way back when, and shows up, and she comes in hot and heavy and lays into this tech. I'm paying you, blah, blah, blah. Get your shit together. It's you effed up this, you effed up that, you effed up that. Like, just like I'm sitting here. Then the back office drafting person comes in. And again, another service that she's paying for, whatever. Sweet as pie to her. And this like the third or fourth call that the drafting company and the technology company have been on. And the person that she's paying for the drafting company finally said, time out. You're fired. I'm quitting. You are no longer. I have 10 plans yours where you have signing dates next week. I'm giving them all back to you. I haven't billed you yet. I am not drafting for you at all. And I never want to work with you again until you change your attitude and get some serious psychology help, coaching help, or what have you, because this is my third or fourth call with you where you have abused this technology guy. And thank God she did
Wow.
that, because the attorney was in tears after, and, justified it with, I'm so stressed out, blah, blah. Mind you, it was a problem that she did. And we've discovered very quickly, and it could have been handled in 5 minutes, but she was on her soapbox, because we get the stress you have, clients,
Yeah.
courts, deadlines, family, all that. But we all have the same stress too.
Exactly.
And it's not productive. So now you are here sitting with all these different plans where you have to draft at 3 hours at a pop for times 10 plans. Plus, if you don't do it, the money that it's going to impact your payroll, your overhead, all that. And it just like, we see the way that you show up with vendors. Again, my team sees it all the time. I get emails like that. Why are you sending me these resumes? Why are you wasting my time with blah, blah, blah? It is just amazing, the tonality. And it's interesting because I see how you hide out behind technology, and you'll write this scathing email or what have you. And I'm like, oh, no, get on the phone. And they're like, you misread that. That's not what
Yes.
I meant. Like,
Yes,
it's
I've had that
exactly
happen.
what
Yeah.
you meant.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, well, that email was in all caps. There was a few cuss words in there. So,
Yeah.
I'm just reading in between the lines. But I mean, it is true that we're all going through life, right? Life isn't easy. It's hard. We all have stress. We all have anxiety. We have so much we have to do. And we're all just trying to also have a work-life balance. And adding on that abuse really makes it harder day to day. If we just treated each other a little bit more gently, a little bit more kind, we're going to see so much more success in life and with our teams as well. Because if we treat each other kind, if we work together, we have a team environment. I always say that with my teammates, we don't work for attorneys, we work with them. We want to be partners in their growth. And that's because, I always tell I talk with the attorneys and I say, if you can't think of us as your equals, then we're not a good fit. And that's the truth of it for us. Because as vendors, I talk with a lot of clients, a lot of attorneys, and, I will say that like 95% of them are amazing, total sweethearts, like love. I have some of the most amazing clients, but there is a select few that, we are very strict in our vetting, and, some of them fall through the cracks, and it's up to me to, set the standard in my company, just like it is in the law firms. It's the owner's position to set the standard in their company, and how they act sets the standard.
Yes. And I love that. And that 95% traditionally in my experience, invest in coaching. And
Yeah.
I don't mean just business building coaching, because there's
Mhm.
many of them
Yeah.
that, pay thousands and thousands of dollars to, coaching that is not coaching. It's all about billable hour. It's all
Yep.
about maximizing and very little appreciation for the employees and how you show up in the world. So, I
Yes.
mean, deep spiritual coaching, really being able to look at yourself and how you're showing up in the world. So we're not saying for you to not be frustrated. That comes with
Right.
your job description. Your
100.
job description as a business owner, as a leader, as an entrepreneur is nothing's ever good enough. And it's also that I'm constantly frustrated. Nobody can do it as good as me. And my default before I even open my eyes is high voltage stress. We get that. We all feel that. But guess what? It's a matter of what are you going to do with that in a way, like Stacey said, to be productive. So as much as you can be transparent and vulnerable with your team when you're feeling the bubble up effect, if you are constantly feeling stressed out, and you are feeling frustrated and you're feeling agitated and you're feeling like you can't trust people and you're constantly expecting disappointment. And even when you write checks to vendors, you already have them under a microscope to say, all right, are you going to be the one that's not going to screw me over this time, or blah, 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 and expecting that they're going to create miracles when you give them a bag of crap to work with, then that is an opportunity for you to really take stock of how you're paying your people,
Yes.
how you're treating your people, how you're communicating with people, how you value them, and then what you do when you're feeling stress in real time, when you're feeling frustrated, when we're dropping balls, when people give you their input, how you're going to facilitate and lead that and manage that.
Exactly. Exactly. And, I honestly will say that you are fantastic. Like, I always go to your blog, Molly, and if I need like leadership, like when I was at Tech Show, when I spoke, I was like, you know what? I'm talking about strategies to grow your team. Molly is the person to talk to. Molly is the person to like look at the information that you provide out there. Like, you are such a thought leader when it comes to people focus, like businesses. And I love that. And I couldn't recommend more for people to go and read your blogs and read the information, your books that you have out there, because it really is, eye-opening, and it is really good information to kind of what we're talking about today, to start that self-reflection and to start on that path of creating happiness and in their law firms.
Thank you so much for saying that. I just hearing you even talk, and even during our prep calls, I'm like, our unwavering commitment to having a breakthrough in the employee-employer relationship, for
Mhm.
to get attorneys the freedom that they deserve, the
Yes.
money that they deserve, the respect that they deserve, the
Yes.
amazing clients that they deserve, and then to have that white space for creativity and what have you. It's possible. You and I both know it. We've seen law firms that have done it beautifully. They're like, all right, I need a paralegal. Don't care how much it costs to pay them. I'll pay them if they're good, if we can collaborate together, communicate. They see it as a relationship. They see it as an investment. They don't see it as, increasing their overhead. If you can't pay people what they're worth, then that's really another reflection on you of how much do you value yourself. Are you
True.
charging what you're worth?
Yeah.
Are you giving away your time? So look at yourself first, because we both, Stacey and I, are so committed attorneys, so committed for you to, even when I work with attorneys at 95% that we love, and they call me for recruiting, I'm like, all right, here's the deal. I need you to make me a video, because right now recruiting is sales in this shark infested
Yes.
water. I got to sell you. So can you make me a video real quick? I'm going to give you this script and I'm going to sell you. This is what you're going to say to sell you as a human, you as a culture, how you're not an abuser, and I even put
Yes.
that in there. And I love the attorneys that they're like, and I go, just real quick, download to me what you're going to say on this video. And I get tears in my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, like people are so lucky to get to work with you. And then they get it in their bones. They're like, wow, I can't wait to record this video. The attorneys that are like, I don't have time for it. I'm not going to record a video. They can't even communicate it. So homework for you all. Do a 60-minute commercial on why you are the best law firm
Yes.
to work from a place of tonality, from a place of energy. I don't mean that you have birthday. Someone told me yesterday that I was interviewing. I'm like, why is your law firm the best? They're like, well, we buy birthday cakes and give gift cards on their birthday. I'm like, no, like that's not it.
It needs
So
deeper than that.
yeah, you need to go deeper than that. So we are here for you. We are so committed. Stacey, if anybody wants to talk to you and find out more about your services and what you're doing for law firms, tell them real quick about your business model and how to get a hold of you the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lawfecta provides virtual paralegals and legal secretaries to law firms. What's really great about us is we work with a lot of like attorneys that are just hanging out their shingle. They don't need in-house staff. They don't need full-time staff. Attorneys can engage us for little as 5 hours. And that's 5 hours that can last over 2 months, basically. And so we're really flexible to allow attorneys to deposit how many hours they think they're going to need. And so when attorneys come to us, we have a great team of paralegals and legal secretaries that have all worked in US based law firms. Everybody has a
Great.
minimum of 5 years legal experience, and we all work remote. Everybody's super tech forward. I love it. And so if attorneys are interested in learning more about outsourcing for virtual paralegals and legal secretaries, they can check us out at lawfecta.com, or they can email us at hello@lawfecta.com. One thing I would like to say that we are really excited about is we actually are going to be adding on a third service. We're actually going to be offering review management. It's going to be a fully automated platform that attorneys are going to be able to just self-manage the review management.
Awesome.
So they'll be able to pull in their reviews from Facebook, Google, Yelp, all across the internet and display them on their website, as well as they'll be able to create an auto campaign to send requests to their clients for reviews, and it'll collect reviews and it can incentivize them. It's going to be really great. So that's something that's coming down the pipeline for Lawfecta. So we're branching out a little bit and we're really excited.
Oh, congratulations. And I have to tell you, go check out Stacey's website and look at her review page. That's a perfect example. Last time we talked, I meant to say that to you, like, holy smokes, look at this review page. It's beautiful.
That's the platform. That's what it looks
Yes.
like. That's what it, and so if anybody wants to actually check out like a real live version of what it looks like, yeah, they can go to my website, lawfecta.com. They can go to our testimonial page, and it's just a nonstop scrolling page of reviews that we've gotten, because this system works really well for us. Over the last like 2 years, we've collected, I think, about 60 reviews or something to that nature. So there's a few little widgets on our website that show kind of how that works. But thank you for that, Molly. I appreciate the feedback, especially coming from you, 'cause I
Yes.
know you are a marketing whiz.
Oh, well, thank you for being our guest. What would be your final like takeaway statement that you really want the attorneys to end on a high note and
Yeah.
with a win in regards to what they can do to really not walk away feeling beaten up, but feeling really excited and empowered and deeply curious about going back to their staff tomorrow around this conversation of how they're showing up and how the abuse is going to stop?
Yes. So I'd like to circle back to Friday polls and just kind of go over that. I think that just like a couple little notes is that attorneys can read a lot more about that. It's very expansive, the 5 Friday polls elements, but it's really basic. Connect with your team because it starts with people. Be fair because the foundation of a happy place to work is fairness. Empower your people, give people the freedom to use their strengths in your firm, challenge them with professional development. It fosters a sense of achievement, and inspiring your employees is so important because they really want to feel like they're making a difference. And those are just kind of just some things, just really kind of thinking over those. How can I connect with my team today? How can I add in more fairness into my firm? How can I empower them to use their strengths? What can I do to challenge them so they can feel like they are achieving something? They have a goal that they're working towards. And what else can I do as a leader to inspire them, not only today, but every day?
Ah, beautiful. All right. We're going to have all the goodies in the show notes, folks. Until next time, continue to be leaders leading legal leaders. Let us know how we can help. We've reached the end of another impactful conversation on the Hire and Empower podcast. Whether this was your first episode or you're a longtime listener, I know you can tell I have passion for people. Whether you're a business owner, employee, executive, or hiring manager, I understand the situation you're in. Hiring, onboarding, and leadership is expensive, exhausting, overwhelming, and if that's not enough, it's also time-consuming. My friends, it doesn't have to be this way. There is a team at H&E that has your back. For over 25 years, they've transformed over 4,000 law firms into efficient, effective, profitable assets for their business and made it fun to come to work again. Check out our Smart Hire solution, our employee leadership program, and the 66-day law firm turnaround at hiringandempowering.com.